Hi, it's Paul Antonelli here. Welcome to another episode of the Ideal Business Podcast. I'm recording this from the Great Victoria Desert on my way back to Perth. Okay, so today I'd like to talk about offer an A, B or C. Offer an A, B or C. And it's a simple concept when you're looking at sales. You know, typically what we find with consumers when people are buying something, particularly it's a little bit different for a large value sale, you know, tens of thousands of dollars. But when you're talking a smaller sale, often what happens is people just want to be able to choose. Give me an A or a B or a C. And so what happens is, and you'll see this is really common. It's actually really common in a lot of places. They'll sell you an A or a B or a C. Now, depending on what you have, whether you've got if you've got a service business, if you provide a service, the idea is to sort of frame the service up as a little bit of a product, yeah. Because what happens is if you sort of, I don't think we don't in a service-based business. We're not really exchanging time for money, even though we think we do. Sometimes that's what we're thinking we're doing. And a lot of businesses are charged by the hourly rate. We're actually exchanging expertise and knowledge to produce outcomes that our clients need. And that's irregardless. It's got nothing to do with how much time we spend. Yeah? If you're very efficient, you're good at what you can do, you can get that done much, much quicker. And so one of the ideas and the approach that I tend to use is I tend to produce, we are a service-based business. InvizBiz is a service-based business, as is ResiCert. These businesses are service-based. We look at how we can turn the service into a product. And so then it becomes a little bit more tangible because it's a product, even though it may not be a physical product. So an example would be with ResiCert, for example, we do property inspections. It's clearly a service. But what I wanted to be able to do is allow the consumer to choose which level of service they wanted and how much money they spend. So we do that by having an A, a B and a C option. And with ResiCert, for example, if someone comes and wants to get a building inspection, we've got an A, which we call the basic, a B, which we call the standard, and a C, which we call the plus. And there's still some add-ons that you can do outside of that depending on the property. And so we go A, B, and C. And we've been doing that for many, many years. And so and what happens when you look at the way that the pricing's put together is, you know, tends to be greater value with the higher priced items. You get a lot more for your money than you do with a basic or with a standard, which is fairly standard fairly normal in this sort of an approach. And so what we find is that, you know, typically if we look at the nature of the service, doing a property inspection on a house, the house could be worth $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $1 million, $2 million, you know. So the disparity in price isn't material or significant in comparison to the price of the house that someone's spending money on. And so a difference of $100 to $200 doesn't make a lot of difference. And so we've had a lot of success with the A, the B and the C model. And if people just want to get a quick, you know, what we call almost like a structural inspection, you know, then we'd say go for the basic. If they want to do more, if they're interested in basically getting a really thorough inspection which covers everything, which would cover everything possible, then they'd end up getting the plus. But we allow the customer to choose, and we make sure that we highlight in a framework, and we've got a table that we map out, and we highlight the differences between the basic and the standard and the plus. So in essence, it's a really easy decision point for a consumer. They can look at it, they get the information, they can read through it, and they can see the extra bits that you get. So typically, you know, the A you get this much, and then a B you get everything that you get in the A except you get this much, and then in a C you get everything you get in the B, but you get this extra stuff. So you are providing more value to your clients, and if you can do it in a way that the extra value seems like a better deal in essence, because it's like, wow, I'm getting all that for just this much extra, then you'll find that most of the clients will move towards the higher end, which is what happens. Most clients, the majority of our clients, end up ordering a plus inspection. So I think that's an example of an A, B and C. So there's a couple of things we've done. We've turned the service into a product by framing it the way it's been framed, and then we give our clients a choice between an A or a B or a C, an A or a B or a C, so they can choose which way they want to go. And we don't try to oversell. It's also important not to undersell. It's important to sell your clients exactly what they need. With InvizBiz, we help businesses franchise if they're interested in franchising, and instead of doing it on a consulting basis, we have a program that we've built called the Franchise Validation Program. And so we've turned that service into a product as well, which has a defined time frame, defined outcomes, there's a structure to it, and it's a lot easier for the clients that we've taken through that process. It's easy for them to make a decision on it because they can see it. In essence, it's a little bit more tangible, it's like a product, which they are, and we have tiers that they can tap into there as well. So I'd really encourage to look at your own sort of business model, and if you're not using an A, B, C approach, maybe have a little bit of a think about how you can do that, because not all clients are the same. That's important to understand. Not all clients' needs are the same. And are you potentially missing out on revenue in your business because you've got, this is our offer, have you got the ability to, and it depends how you want to run your business, but typically, you could be in a digital marketing business, you could be in a copywriting business, you can be in a business that does documentation, it can be in any business, but actually think about, for your clients, do you find that some clients want extra service? And it may not be just what you're doing, but the nature of how you engage. You might have, with particular clients, you might say we have a lot more contact, we catch up with you once a week, we do a monthly review, there's more sort of edges and aspects of what you provide in your service that you can frame up as a product, yeah? And so I really love that idea in business. And obviously, if you're in a business where you've got a product, then you can offer different packages of the product. And if you get not just selling one product, but selling a packaged product, having other things that get added to it, it just, it tends to make it easier for people to I think, make a choice. Because when they look at just one, they can't compare it to anything else. And they typically compare it to what's out in the marketplace as opposed to looking at the different tiers that might be available within your business itself. So I'd really encourage you to think about your business. There may be an opportunity. It's not necessarily going to suit all businesses. Not all businesses are going to be suited to it. But I look at, so many clients that we've worked with, there's a couple of things, if you can have a pricing structure that's a little bit more fixed, I guess, and move away from charging an hourly rate and working out on every particular job, this is going to take so many hours. You actually have packages, like an A and a B and a C package, and focus more on the outcomes that get delivered as opposed to the time that gets spent on it, And often we can feel, as someone delivering a service, we go, wow, I've done this, and I did this in an hour, and I've charged $500. I should be spending more time on it, I remember in the early days when I started, this is many years ago, when I started ResiCert, I'd actually got down to just doing a building inspection. I could actually walk into a house, just a normal house, do the inspection and actually have the report fully produced. It could be like a 30-page report, 40-page report, and send it off to the client once I leave the house. And that would have been just over an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. And that might have been a $500 inspection charge. And I used to actually delay sending it was quite funny, I used to delay actually sending the report off to the client because I thought they'll work out, well, how did you do that so quickly? It just doesn't make any sense. You've turned up, we're paying you $500 and, from when you walked in the door, it was all over in an hour. That wasn't actually, it was quite funny because that was just something that was in my head The clients weren't really thinking that at all. They were just interested in the outcome. So it was a process where I used to then, I'd ring them and debrief them as we do, but then I'd hang the report back and send it in a few hours, just so it felt like from their perception, I was spending more time on it, which is it's a really strange idea, because they're not really paying for time, they're paying for certainty, and they want to have information about their property, and whether we take 20 minutes to do that or 3 hours to do that is really irrelevant. So it was a bit of a process, and I think, shifting from an understanding that your service hourly rate, it's more about outcomes that you deliver to your clients and the value that those outcomes create for your clients, the benefits that your clients get from it. And if we are in a service-based business, then look at how you can evolve that into products, and then you can have an A, a B and a C. It's very hard to, when you do an hourly rate, you just do hourly rate, so it's pretty flat, but you can offer an A, B and C. And typically, it's a bit of a tier. It enables you to engage with clients at different levels who have different needs and different requirements, and you'll typically find that there'll be a group that will move towards the higher. If you framed up the options A, B and C correctly, there should be a very clear value proposition in the higher option compared to the smaller option. This beam that I've got behind me is a really good example of an A and a B option. They have they call it the retro version, which is an on-road version, very funky looking beam, and then they've got the off-road version, which is this version. And I think when I bought the van, the difference between the two, I think the retro version was about 35 grand and this version was about 38,500. And so I'd look at it and go, wow, for 38,500 you're getting so much more value. And so 90%, when I was talking to the business owners, about 90% of people buy this version, because you just get way more value. You get bigger tyres, you get this, you get that, you get all sorts of things. So really the retro version was merely there to provide a sense of extra added value for the off-road version. So that's an A and a B. So it makes sense in that option. And you'll see there's a lot of that takes place. And this is a product, obviously, it's a physical product, but you can also apply that equally well to anything that might be a service. So just recapping, have a think about, keep moving away from hourly rate and think about how you can provide packages A, B and C. And A, B and C is typically tiered, so you've got a low, middle and a higher value, higher priced but higher value, and focus more on outcomes as opposed to time spent. And that'll create a bit of a difference about how you tackle things in the marketplace. Thanks for joining me for this podcast. Look forward to catching you up in another Ideal Business podcast. Ciao for now.